Hello, welcome to Light Up Your Life Yoga. I would like to take you through a body scan today. So, the intention of a body scan is just to bring the awareness to think about different parts of your body and to notice what they feel like. And it's a way of practicing mindfulness, and it is a practice because it can be quite interesting to notice what your mind does. And that's one of the reasons for practicing it, really. So sometimes what can happen is I'll be saying, and notice how it feels in your ankle, and notice how it feels in your knee. And all of a sudden you're like, well, actually my knee's a bit sore. I wonder why it's sore. Oh, I remember, maybe it was the other day when I did this, and then I should never have done that. And then you go off in this huge story about why your knee's sore. By the time you've noticed that's what you've done, I'm on a different part of the body entirely. So it can just help you to become aware of how your mind works, of how your mind can race off and get carried away by the story. And it gives you practice at coming back. And that can be really, really helpful, because ultimately what we're learning in yoga and in yoga therapy is we're learning to work with the mind. And we're learning that the mind is something that we can control. That when we notice our thoughts are going to places we don't want them to go, if we find we're obsessively worrying about something, which we call rumination, you can actually take charge of it and you can actually bring it back. And one of the ways we do this is by giving the mind something else to do. And what we're doing in this case is we're just noticing how it feels in our body. And so don't be disheartened if you find your attention wandering and you keep having to bring it back. That's brilliant, because what you're doing is you are practicing focusing your mind, you are practicing being in charge of your thoughts. And I always think, I think that's a bit like a superpower, really. Being in charge of your thoughts, being able to bring your mind to what you want it to focus on and bring it away from things you'd rather it didn't notice, or things that you'd rather not keep obsessing about. That's a very powerful tool to have in your toolkit. So you might find that it's quite relaxing. The intention isn't particularly to be relaxing, but people have fed back to me that they do find it relaxing. So if you're sitting in a chair, make sure that you're going to be comfortable. And if you think you might fall asleep, then you might be better to do this practice lying down. But you are more likely to fall asleep if you're lying down. So, but do be comfortable and do be safe. So maybe just taking a moment to wriggle, get nice and comfortable if you're sitting, to make sure you're comfortable if you're lying down. And you can practice this technique standing up as well if you want to. It can be done very quickly, but today we're going to take about 10 minutes. So maybe just taking your awareness into your sitting bones if you're sitting down on a chair. And notice how they feel. If you're on your back on the floor, then notice the back of the pelvis. Just a really obvious thing to start noticing how you're connecting into the earth through the sitting bones or through the lower back if you're lying on your back. And then bringing the awareness into your feet. So thinking about your feet. And we're going to think about the right foot now. Bring the awareness into the right foot. And maybe notice the sole of your foot. So notice if it's resting against the floor. And what's the texture of that floor beneath your foot? Maybe notice how the toes feel. Does your foot feel warm or cold? Maybe notice your ankle joint and the calf muscles on your right leg. And notice your right knee. How does it feel in your right knee at the moment? Is your leg bent or straight? Does your knee feel comfortable? And no need to dwell on that, just being aware of how your knee feels. And if there are no words for that, that's okay. We're just noticing. Noticing how it feels in your right thigh. So if you're in a chair, you may feel the back of the thigh resting against the chair. Might like to notice the top of the thigh. If you're sitting, you might have the hand resting on the thigh. How does that feel? Maybe noticing your right hip. Just being there for a moment, acknowledging your right hip joint and the muscles. And then what we're going to do is gently move the awareness across to your left hip and then down through your left leg, down towards the sole of the foot. You might find that's tricky, so just be patient. And then bringing the awareness into the sole of your left foot. So what's the texture of the surface underneath your foot? If your foot is resting on a surface, maybe you can feel your socks. If you're wearing socks, maybe there's the cool air. How do your toes feel on your left foot? What does it feel like in your left ankle? In your left calf muscles? Bringing the awareness into your left knee. Being with your knee there for a moment, noticing how it feels. Noticing perhaps your left thigh, back of your left thigh, maybe resting on the chair if you're sitting. How does it feel on the top of the thigh? Maybe your hand is resting there. And then bringing the awareness into your left hip, into the joint and the muscles. And then gently bringing the awareness more towards the center of your pelvis now. So perhaps noticing how it feels as you sit on the chair. Do you feel the bones of your pelvis? Or if you're lying on your back, you may feel the back of your pelvis resting against the earth. So just noticing how it feels in the pelvis. If you can, bring the awareness into your pelvic floor muscles and just notice how they're feeling. And then gently we bring the awareness into the tummy muscles. Do they feel relaxed? Do they feel tight? And inside your tummy, into your abdomen, you got any awareness of how it feels in your digestive system? And then we bring the awareness gently up into the ribs and up into the chest. And how does it feel in the ribs? Are you aware perhaps of the ribs moving as you breathe? And how does the breath feel? Do you feel that your breath is peaceful? Do you feel that it's a bit shallow? And just notice, you might find the act of noticing causes there to be a change. Your breathing, my breathing often slows down when I notice my breath. And then let's bring the awareness around into the back of the body, into your spine, into your back, and just notice how it feels. So it could be that you're resting against the back of a chair, it could be that you're sitting upright, it could be that you're lying down on the floor. How does your back feel? Maybe notice the lower back, the area around the waist, between the shoulder blades and the upper back. And then gently we're going to bring the awareness into your right shoulder. Maybe notice your shoulder. And notice your right upper arm, your elbow, your forearm. Noticing the right wrist and the hand Just notice the position of your right hand, what you can feel. Maybe your hand is touching your leg, maybe you're touching the other hand. Maybe your hand is resting on the floor. And then gently we bring the awareness back up through the right arm, up to the shoulder. And see if you can gently move your awareness across the shoulders into the left shoulder. Noticing how it feels in your left shoulder. And then bringing that awareness down into the upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, hand and finger. So the whole of your left arm. Noticing that, maybe noticing what you're touching with your left hand and how that feels. And then gently we bring the awareness back up through the body, through the arm and into the neck. Just noticing how it feels in your neck, in the back of your neck, maybe in the throat, perhaps have a swallow, just to see how that feels. Noticing the back of your head and your jawbone. How does it feel in your jawbone? Notice your cheeks, your ears, your nose, the right eye, the left eye. Notice the forehead and the crown of your head. And then just resting for a moment with the awareness in the whole body. Perhaps noticing your breath. Notice as you breathe in. Notice as you breathe out. And then we're going to very gently bring the awareness back through the body, through the crown of the head, to the forehead. Noticing the neck and the base of the throat. Noticing the shoulders. Noticing behind the breastbone. Noticing the tummy button, the abdomen, the pelvis. Notice how you're connecting into the floor or the chair, through the back or through the thighs. And then bring the awareness down into your feet. And maybe just wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers. Moving into the wrists, moving into the ankles. You might want to stretch the arms above the head, maybe have a bit of a yawn. Lie on your back. You might like to hug the knees. If you're sitting up, you might like to just relax forward. Just releasing the tailbone towards the chair if you're sitting. And then gently bringing yourself upright if you are on your back, rolling onto your side, and then bringing yourself to an upright position. And just take a moment to notice how it feels in your body and in your mind. And it can be a very beautiful practice to do regularly, really practicing that mindfulness. And once you get the hang of it, working with your body, you can start to notice other things like your thoughts, which becomes a whole lot more challenging. But it's a great way to practice focusing the mind, concentrating the mind. It's very deep yoga to work with your thoughts in this way. So I hope you find it helpful. You could practice this regularly if you wanted to, and you'll really notice how your mind can start to focus on what you're choosing to focus on. So thank you for joining me today.